most important things that you will do is to get line sights. You've heard me say that as you go around the lake, you have to keep your eyeballs open. And one of the reasons that we're looking at shoreline water and fishing water is so that you watch the shoreline. And a little later on, we're going to show you a little bit more about line sights, but for the time being, they're the things that will keep you from getting lost. It's line sights to know where you are. And so it's very important. And we're going to demonstrate some line sights, and then we're going to go and see if we can't line some up. One of the things that you and I can do on the lake to keep from getting lost, and also to find the spot, the contact point, or where your marker was thrown, and that is line sights, or rifle sights as some people call them. And this is two objects on the same shore. Most people think that rifle sights or line sights or is one marker like a tall tree on one shoreline, and then you turn around and look behind you and you pick up a telegraph pole over on the other shore. That is wrong. You must have, your line sight must be two objects on the same shore. So that you understand what I mean by line sights and rifle sights, let us demonstrate a few so that you will understand what we're talking about. Yes, we're going to use two objects, as you see. One is a pine tree, and over in the distance is a open spot between the tree line, and it looks like there's a tall dead tree in there. Now, a good marker would be to put the top of that tree on that dead tree. Top of the pine tree on that dead tree. So let's demonstrate that. That's right on it, and that would give you a very positive marker in one line sight or one rifle sight. The top of that pine with that dead tree. Sometimes when working in close and a lot of things around you, and you hit a fish or you want to have a marker, throw out a marker, then you have to get a real fast line sight. Sometimes you don't have time to think or look around too much, so you just glance and pick you up one on the shore right fast. And this is a good example of one where the flagpole is right between, about in the middle of those two pines, in the V between the two pines. This would be a good one. Here's another instance where you may have to make a real fast line sight. And in this case, it's the telegraph pole against that white house. It's just to the right of the window and just to the left of the peak of the house. This gives you a pretty good marker, and it's something that it can be made real fast. Lots of times there may be some flowers, or it may be a pile of rocks, or it may be a staircase that's right along the shoreline. And in this case, we have a flower bed that's right next to the shoreline. And I'm lining it up with a real fast go with the window in that house. Here is another quickie. Here are two telegraph poles lined up. One is just a little bit to the right of the other, but still that is a good fast line sight or rifle sight that you can take. Here's another example of something that can be lined up real fast. It's a flower bed that I'm lining up with that brick-like mailbox. Here's another example of where you may have to make a real fast observation to get your line sight. I have in view a telegraph pole, and just to the left of it is a tree. You'll see the relationship between the tree and that pole. Sometimes you may have to make it just like that. Other times it may be different. It could be that you'd hit the sign and you see that telegraph pole right in the center of that tree. We're looking at a telegraph pole. Sometimes you have to get a long shot at something. It may be a tree or something way up on the hill, and you got a pole or something in the foreground, and you got to line them up. And so you have to really take a real fast look at it so that you won't get too far off to where you want to mark it, like where you caught a fish, or where you want to throw the marker, or the contact point, or something of this nature. So you probably want to make a long shot sometime, and you may have to pick up such a thing as that telegraph pole. And you line up the telegraph pole to the top of a tree up on the hill. This gives you a good line sight, and you see that from a long distance. You could try to get something high in that case. In this case, it's that tall tree. This is an example of a line sight. You try to keep your two sights on one shore just as far apart as possible. Sometimes you can't, so you have to get them pretty close. And in this case, they are fairly close. We have a log in the water, and I'm going to line that log up with that tallest white pine in the background. Now that's a pretty good line sight. If I line those up, then I can be in position with my marker, or where I want to be, straight out from this behind me. Sometimes you have to do it real fast, and then you have to use a lot of things when you throw a marker or something. You got to get some line sight. And there's a good one where you got it in the background, way on the background. You see a tall tree. Right here at the corner, you have a pine, and then you'll have some brush in the water. I'm going to line that brush in the water up with that tree. If right here is where the spot that I want to mark, then I thought where I caught a fish, I would immediately look at that, and I got this line sight this way. I want to show you how positive it can be. When the farther apart your markers are, the more exact your spot's going to be. I'm going to put that marker on the pier, on part of the dam down there, that kind of entrance where they drain the water. And I want you to notice how positive it is. Just a foot or so, you practically could get within inches of where you want to drop the anchor. See it? Now I'm going to try to, it's so positive that I can hardly keep it on it. Just the wind keeps it on. Now I'm right on it, right now. Just the least little bit. That shows you how positive things can be if you get long distance apart. Here's a pretty good line sight, because we've got something real high in the background, and we've got something here in the foreground pretty good. It's some brush in the water, and in the background is a mountain, or as you've seen before, that is short off. Look at that cloud cover. We better watch it, because it could create some real problems. Right there is a very good thing. It could be a telephone pole, it could be a water tank, it could be anything. But I want you to watch that big tower. That's a power line. Power lines are real good. Sometimes just a great big one on top of a hill is good. I would mark it right to the edge of the woods. Right there. Now I'm lined up, those two, in this direction. Now that is not going to give me my location of where my marker is or where I caught that fish. But that's a good line sight in one direction. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they look behind them. Now I'm going to turn the boat. I'm going to come all around 180 degrees. In other words, I'm looking exactly in the opposite direction from that tire. If I pick out a line sight over in this direction, it could be perfect too. But that's not going to tell me where I am. You have to have a line sight at 90 degrees. And if you don't know what it is, let me turn around and I'll show you. There's my line sight here, in this direction. My next line sight is going to be down to the left. I'm going to pick out something to the left, down right angles to that. Now here's where we're going to start at this angle, at right angles. Now you see that in the right angle I'm running straight toward, I've got the part of the tire out there right on the corner of the hill. Now I'm going to proceed down this particular line, and now you don't see it, but I'll see it until I line up my other thing over here to my right on 90 degrees. And when I get to it, then I'm going to turn it and I'll show you where the marker was, where the marker was supposed to be. The marker is floating, that you see there. I'm going to take it out of the way in a minute. Okay, I'm going to make a turn. I'm going to turn 90 degrees. And there's my other marker. Now you've heard me say that a lot of times I had fellows in the boat with me, and I would go along and I'd make a hole in the water, and I'd put my finger in the water and make a hole, and I said, when your lure gets right there, you're going to catch a fish. So what I did, I was going down one of my legs of my marker, my line sight. I got a line sight here of a part of a cement building on the corner of that building. I will proceed down this way. And as soon as I looked to the right and I got my other line up, that's when I'd stick my finger in the water. So I'm coming to it, and I'm making a hole in the water right now. And there's my line sight. And there's where the fish was. Sometimes you're in pretty close to the bank, pretty close to the shoreline, and there's a lot of things here, so you can get some cross references real fast. And hit a fish, say right here. So I look dead ahead and I see a pier coming out, and in the background is a shed. I'll move, that's going to be very positive, so I want that tree or that shed, the edge of that shed, just about on that end of that pier. That's close. I got a pretty good sight then. Now I'm going to turn to the left 90 degrees. Just keep the camera straight, and it'll get me another marker right here. I'm right out from that pier, says private, keep out, straight out. There's the one at 90 degrees. And where I hit that fish, those are the two markers I could use. In our discussion and talking about the line sights, especially where we had two line sights at right angles, I have a tendency to say 90 degrees. The reason for this is that I don't want people to think that they have to look in opposite directions, such as 180 degrees. So in this case, let's try to clear that thing up. Here we have a marker. This could be on the contact point, or it could be where we had a little sharper break down there. And we look at that line sight, and we line up with right up the center of this road. That will give you a pretty good line sight. If you got off of it a little bit, you wouldn't be up the center of the road. We have another one here that goes by the tree, and we line the tree up with the door in the church. We have another third line sight from here, and we line up the slide to a telegraph pole. That gives you another good line sight. In this case, the line sight from the marker up the road and to the tree to the church is a little more than 90 degrees, which is fine. We have the other line sight from the tree to the church and the slide to the pole is less than 90 degrees. It's still, accuracy is still pretty good. Now the line sight from the roadbed to here to the church is a little over 90 degrees. From here, from this line sight to this line sight is less than 90 degrees. From this line sight to the road line sight is quite a lot. It's more than 90 degrees, but it still gives a pretty good line sight. The reason I do this is so that you keep in mind that line sights are 90 degrees more or less. You don't go 180 degrees. You try to keep it where you can get your reading. You can come back, proceed down this line sight until you see this line sight here, and there's your marker. Or you could come here, proceed down this line sight to this line sight lined up with the church, and there's your marker. You could come in across here, and you go across here until you see this line sight, there's your marker. Or you could come across here and see this line sight, and you're still on the marker. Line sights, 90 degrees more or less, will keep you out of trouble.